Hey everybody, welcome to another GM Mini where we give game masters and players something to think on in about 5 minutes or less. Now, full disclosure, this one is also going to be a Savage Worlds for Beginners video because we're going to cover the basics of dramatic tasks. On top of that, I'm going to say that there's probably going to be 3 different videos on dramatic tasks coming. Yes, that is because dramatic tasks got a huge overhaul in the new edition. There's a lot to cover. But today we are covering the basics, the things you need to run a bog standard dramatic task. Part 2 will be covering the more advanced rules in the dramatic tasks, the rules in the book where you can tweak and fiddle them. And then finally, in number 3, we're going to be covering the things I use for dramatic tasks, as well as how to put dramatic tasks into other game systems. All right, so let's get this started. Before anything, if you want to run a dramatic task, you have to have a deck of cards. Now, a little history lesson. Back in Deluxe Edition of Savage Worlds and before, dramatic tasks were 5 rounds, always 5 rounds, and you had to get 5 successes. If you got those 5 successes by the end of the 5 rounds, woo, you succeeded. They've kind of took all the limiters off of successes and rounds, and we're going to get into that. But before that, no matter how many rounds this task goes, and no matter how many successes you need, the club, not specifically the 4 clubs, but any card that's a club is going to matter. It's going to matter a great deal because every round you get a card. Just like initiative. If your card is a club, you take a -2 to everything you're doing this round. On top of that, if you happen to fail on this round specifically, the entire dramatic test fails. That means if on round 1 you get a club and you failed, congratulations, it was now a 1-round dramatic task and the whole thing failed. The example they gave in Deluxe is one I love of defusing a bomb, because if you fail on a club, the bomb explodes. There is no more defusing a bomb. In normal rounds, normal turns, if you fail, all you do is you don't get any successes for the round. But if you critically fail, which is double 1s on your dice, it's just like failing on a club. The whole thing goes horribly wrong and it collapses. But other than that, failing on a round doesn't end the dramatic task, which is one of those things I love. You get to try again. It just means you have to get even more successes every round. All right, now we're getting into the nitty-gritty of Adventures Edition dramatic tasks. We're just handling the basics today, so we're going to handle the 3 main levels of dramatic tasks that they give as examples. There is challenging, there is difficult, and there is complex, and each of those goes higher. I wish difficult was before challenging. Just, I think, a personal preference of wording. But challenging is the most common one you will use. It is only 3 rounds now instead of 5 rounds. In 3 rounds, in 3 cards, they have to get 4 successes, which means at least one of those rounds has to be a raise. If they somehow get 4 successes in 1 round, which is amazing, and it can happen, boom, they're done. If they somehow get 4 successes in 2 rounds, which both rounds are raised, not that amazing, but boom, it's done. Next, you have difficult. Difficult is 4 rounds, 4 cards, but the number of successes goes up to 6. So now at least 2 of your rounds have to be a raise. Really, really good. Now, again, granted, you could go insane in 1 roll, but on average, at least 2 of your rounds have to be a raise. If you notice, both of those, 2 of your rounds are allowed to be just a normal success. You're going to notice that. Because in our third one, complex, you are now back to the classic Savage Worlds of a 5-round dramatic task. But you need 8 successes, which means at least 3 of those 5 rounds have to average out to a raise. 2 of them can be standard successes. If you, by round 3, if it's another standard success, that means one of those later rounds has to be a 12. That's kind of the situation. Now, how do you get successes? This is where we're getting into it because, again, very, very important stuff. You have a basic roll. In old dramatic tasks, all dramatic tasks had a -2 modifier, and then you added the -2 from the club. Now dramatic tasks don't have a built-in modifier. If there are situational modifiers and you want to make dramatic tasks even harder, you can. But the assumption is dramatic tasks by themselves don't have a modifier anymore because you need so many successes. This also assumes, and these numbers are based off of the single lead dramatic task. One person is doing the dramatic task. The rest of the party can still be involved. That's where support roles come in, and they're going to be very, very important given the number of successes they need to have. Outside of that, it then becomes just like basic Savage Worlds. If you get a 4, that's a success. Every raise afterwards, an 8, 1 raise, a 12, 2 raises, so on and so forth, is an additional success. In the single skill dramatic task, there is no cap on how many successes you can get in one round. Yes, single skill dramatic task. Next week, we are going to get into multi-skill dramatic tasks and multiple lead dramatic tasks. But that's next week, because that is all of the basics you actually need to know for the new Adventurers Edition dramatic tasks. I'll catch you guys next time. Bye!